Hi there, I'm Shanda. My parents tried to cancel my wedding just days before it happened, demanding $175,000 back, in front of everyone. Then my mother showed up and hit me with a cast iron lamp at the altar. I wish that were the worst part. But what if I told you? It started long before that. Quiet sabotage, lies, control masked as love. Would your family ever go that far? What time are you listening to this and where are you watching from? Drop a comment. I really want to know. I was standing alone in a sea of tulle. The boutique's tall mirror reflected a version of myself that looked like she belonged in a bridal magazine. Flawless, serene, glowing. But inside, I was a tangled mess. My mom didn't come with me. Again. The seamstress pinned the final hem and said, "You'll be stunning walking down that aisle." I smiled, weakly. Jason had just texted about the rehearsal dinner menu. He was buzzing with excitement. I wanted to match it. I tried to, but something felt off, like an engine humming just a little too loud under the hood. That evening we had dinner at my parents' house. Their home was always silent, expensive, cold. My father carved the roast like a surgeon, not a host. My mother complimented the wine, but not me. Jason made small talk, awkwardly filling the void until my father wiped his mouth and slid a folder across the table. "Before we go any further, I want to protect our family's interests," he said. "Standard procedure." I opened it. My name was at the top of a prenuptial agreement. Not just any prenup, a financial cage. If we divorced, I would lose every asset he'd ever helped with. My car, partial stake in my firm's startup fund, even the down payment on our new condo. It was essentially a financial disowning wrapped in legalese. Jason looked stunned. "You can't be serious." "I won't sign this," I said, my voice flat but clear. "You should think carefully," my father said, folding his hands. "Perhaps this wedding isn't meant to happen." The words hung in the air like smoke from a kitchen fire. My appetite vanished. Jason reached for my hand under the table. I pulled away. That night, lying in bed, I stared at the ceiling as memories surfaced. Me at 16, crying after winning a national art contest, because Dad said I only got it because the judges felt sorry for girls. Or when I got into college and he said, "You'll marry before you make it through sophomore year." Why did I think this time would be different? I didn't sleep. At sunrise, I watched the first light stretch across the floorboards like a warning. My phone buzzed. "Jason. Shan, the church just called. They got the prenup. Signed." "What? You sent it in, right?" I bolted upright. "I never signed anything." We drove straight to the church. The coordinator met us with a friendly but confused smile. "Don't worry, we've got it on file. Looks like it came from your father's firm's address. Very official." She handed it to me. My signature looked perfect. Too perfect. Jason clenched his jaw. "Let's go confront him." "No," I said, taking a breath. "Not yet." My voice didn't shake. I folded the document and slid it into my purse. Inside me, something snapped, but it didn't break, it sharpened. That night, I sat before my wedding vision board. It was full of blush florals, handwritten menus, a reception seating chart titled Family. I stared at it for a long moment. Then slowly, I dragged the mouse and deleted the entire family table. War wasn't what I wanted, but if they were going to start one, they better be ready. He forged my name to a document he called protection. But who's protecting me from him? 10 days before the wedding, I woke up feeling oddly optimistic. I had a morning meeting with the florist and a dress pickup scheduled after. Things felt like they were finally falling into place, at least the parts I could control. Natalie sent me a picture of her wedding invitation. "It's beautiful," she wrote. I smiled, until I actually looked at the image. The envelope said, "Mrs. Arlene McKenna cordially invites you to celebrate the union of Jason D. Wallace." No mention of me, not even my name. I stared at the photo, blinking like my brain needed time to process. I called Natalie immediately. "Did you get a different version of the invite?" I asked. "No? They all look like this, don't they?" She replied, confused. That pit in my stomach from last week started crawling back up my throat. I drove to my parents' house, invitation in hand, rage barely tempered. My mother was trimming roses outside like nothing had happened. "You forgot to put my name on my own wedding invitation," I said, holding the card up. She barely glanced at it. "Oh, stop! You're being dramatic. It's a tradition. Mother's host. It's etiquette. This isn't etiquette. This is erasure. She waved her hand like I was a child throwing a tantrum. You're too emotional. This is why you need me to take the lead. That same night, Jason came into our kitchen holding his phone. My aunt just called. She never got an invite. Neither did Uncle Rick. We compared lists. Nearly all of Jason's side was missing. In their place, names I barely recognized. My father's business associates, some distant cousin from Braden's girlfriend's side. I couldn't even speak. I just stared at the spreadsheet, my fingers twitching on the keyboard like they were deciding whether to delete the entire list or just start over from scratch. 2 days later, I attended a bridal brunch my mother had planned. I showed up out of obligation. Bad move. Everything was Arlene's vision, Arlene's theme. Arlene's daughter is so lucky to have such a hands-on mom. I sat through 3 courses of compliments that weren't for me. When someone asked what colors I'd chosen for the ceremony and my mother answered instead, I excused myself and locked myself in the bathroom. 16 years ago, at my own birthday, she let Braden do a trophy display next to the cake. That year, nobody even sang. That night, Natalie called again. This time, she was breathless. "You're not going to believe this," she said. "I just got the formal invite in the mail." I saw it. "No, Shanda, this one doesn't even list you as the bride." My ears rang. "What?" She texted me the image. The wording, "Please join us in celebrating the union of Jason D. Wallace and the McKenna family." No bride, just the family. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I went back to my parents' house. "Did you think I wouldn't notice?" I said, tossing the invite on the kitchen island. My mother's smile faltered for a half-second. "You wouldn't even have a wedding if it weren't for us." "Then maybe you shouldn't be invited either." The words left my mouth like glass being thrown across marble. When I got home, I opened the wedding group chat and deleted her. No explanation. Jason and I sat together that night, rewriting the guest list. One name at a time. Red pen, calm hands, cold fire in my chest. Finally, I picked up the phone and called our planner. From now on, every name goes through me. Every single one. She tried to steal the spotlight, so I took away her stage. We hosted a small brunch that Sunday. Jason and I needed a quiet moment. Just friends, laughter, no fires to put out. The apartment smelled of fresh rosemary bread and jasmine-scented candles. I even let myself exhale. Braden arrived last. Of course, he always did. Big smile, loud voice, as if nothing in our world had cracked. "I thought we had made peace," I told myself as I poured orange juice. "I thought blood still meant something." He hugged Jason first. His arms wrapped around me after, quick, too firm. It felt like a performance. The next morning, my phone buzzed while I was brushing my teeth. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Then again. I picked up. "This is Sarah from Golden Trust Bank. We need to verify a few details about your personal loan application." "I haven't applied for a loan," I said, mouth dry. "There's a $25,000 line of credit opened last week under your name, co-signed by a Braden McKenna." The room tilted. I didn't even dry my hands before grabbing my keys. At the bank, they slid the papers across the desk like it was any other transaction. My name, my address, my social security number, Braden's signature in the second box. When I confronted him, he barely blinked. "It's for a sports bar investment. Chill out. I used your score. You'll thank me when it takes off." "You forged my name." "No, I didn't forge it. I just moved things along. You always overthink." 16 years ago, I found him crying in Dad's office, caught stealing money from the drawer. I lied and said it was me, took the grounding, took the yelling. I thought I was protecting him. Turns out I trained him. Later that evening, I called my parents, told them what he'd done. I thought maybe, just maybe, they'd see the truth this time. My father's voice came cold and clipped. "That boy's just trying to make something of himself. You're being cruel." My mother chimed in sharper. "You've always had more than him. Don't be petty." I didn't respond. My fingers curled around the phone tighter and tighter until I heard it creak. Jason pulled me into a quiet hug. "We can fix this," he whispered. But I didn't want comfort. I wanted resolve. That night, the doorbell rang. I opened it, and there he was again. Braden. "You know this condo? It's technically family trust property. I helped Dad fund it. You think you just get to own it solo? You helped nothing. I stepped forward, closing the space between us. This place was built with every sleepless night I had designing other people's homes while living out of a rented studio. You don't get to steal that. He smirked. We'll see what the courts say. Behind me, Jason held up his phone, camera still recording. We've got it all, he said, just in case. I slammed the door in Braden's face. No more second chances. I locked the door, deleted Braden's building access, changed the passcode. Then I sat at my desk. The forged loan paperwork stared back at me. I picked up a pen and scrawled my lawyer's name across a notepad. The worst betrayal doesn't come from strangers. It wears your last name. The voicemail played while I stood at my kitchen sink, watching water spiral down the drain. Sweetheart, I just can't get out of bed today, Mom whimpered. Her voice trembled with a sorrow so carefully staged it could have won an award. Maybe the wedding's just too much. Maybe I failed you. For a moment, guilt gripped my chest like a fist. I turned off the tap, stood still. I told Jason I needed to check on her. He offered to come. I said no. This was between mother and daughter. I drove over with a container of chicken soup and that stubborn sliver of hope I hadn't yet killed. She opened the door in silk pajamas, wine glass in hand, rom-com playing on the TV. Oh, you came, she said, dry as toast. You always overreact. My stomach dropped. There it was, another manipulation, another performance, another game I didn't know I was playing until I'd already lost. 16 years ago, she collapsed in the kitchen when I brought home a B- in math. I had cried and skipped dinner. She had demanded attention. Was that voicemail a test? I asked. She laughed. You're being dramatic. Again. I left the soup on the counter and walked out without another word. Later, I sat with Jason on the couch, arms wrapped around my knees. She called me like she was broken, I whispered, and then acted like I was the fool for caring. Jason said nothing for a moment, then gently, maybe you should talk to someone. I don't need therapy. I need distance. I turned off my phone that night, blocked her number, just for a day, just to breathe without her in my lungs. The next morning, I woke up to 63 unread messages in the family group chat. The first one was from my aunt. Shanda, how could you say those things? My heart lurched. Mom had forwarded a voice memo, one I sent to Natalie weeks ago. I was crying, venting, admitting I sometimes felt like the backup child. That nothing I did was enough. She leaked it. The responses rolled in, ungrateful. After all your parents did. Shameful. Even Braden replied, no wonder she's always the victim. I stood there in my pajamas, shaking, scrolling, until a message lit up from my cousin Marcy. A screenshot, and one line, you didn't deserve this. I didn't cry, not this time. I opened my phone's recorder, hit record. If you wanted me silent and obedient, I said, voice calm and sharp, you should have raised a different daughter. I saved the file. Didn't send it. Not yet. Instead, I wrote down my vows for the ceremony. Then I tore them in half and started over. I wasn't going to burn down the house. I'd build mine stronger. I woke up to war on my screen. Dozens of notifications exploded across my phone. Twitter tags, Reddit links, screenshots sent by friends I hadn't spoken to in months. One headline hit like a punch. Bride to be allegedly fleeing with ex, wedding off? My throat dried, my hands shook. I clicked the thread. An anonymous Reddit user had posted intimate, personal details, therapy records, a blurry scan of my credit card statement showing deposits from Jason's family, even a photo of my engagement ring receipt. The caption, shared by someone close to the bride, close. Jason walked in with coffee and saw my face. What's wrong? I showed him the post. Who else knew about this stuff? He asked. I could barely speak. Only my mom and Braden. He didn't say anything, but the tension in his jaw said enough. 16 years ago, I covered for Braden when he broke our neighbor's car window with a baseball. I said it was me. He stood behind our dad's legs and let me take the blame. Back then, I thought it was love. Now I knew better. I didn't cry. I filmed a short Instagram reel that afternoon. Simple, direct. I stood in front of my wedding dress. No filter, no music. I'm still marrying the love of my life this Saturday, I said. Don't believe anything else. Then I deactivated the comments, blocked half of my family, and deleted my wedding account. Jason pulled me into a hug. "You don't have to do this alone." I nodded, but inside, I was exhausted, like grief had gone digital and spread faster than I could think. That night, I received a text from my florist. "So sorry about the cancellation. Should we refund the deposit or reschedule?" Then my baker. "We'll pause production until we hear back. Wishing you peace." I froze. I checked the wedding account one last time. Someone had hacked in and posted, "Wedding canceled. Financial issues between families. Please respect our privacy." The post had over 300 likes. Comments were disabled. I looked at Jason. "They're not just attacking me anymore. They're trying to fracture us." His expression hardened. Then they picked the wrong couple. That night, I sat at my dining table with a yellow legal pad. I wrote down every name with motive, every person who had access. At the top of the list, I circled one in red. Mom. No more guessing. No more hoping she'd stop. I whispered to myself, they can hide behind fake usernames, but I'll face them, me, with my real name, and a lawyer. The rehearsal dinner began without them. 2 empty chairs sat under soft candlelight, untouched menus resting on white linen napkins. My parents hadn't texted, hadn't called, hadn't RSVP'd a simple, "We won't be coming." Jason reached across the table, his hand brushing mine. Maybe they're running late, but something in me already knew. After the last course was cleared, my phone buzzed. A message from my cousin Liana. "Did you see Braden's story?" I opened Instagram. There they were, my parents, beaming next to Braden at the SFO International Terminal. My father's caption, "Celebrating real family where it counts." My stomach twisted so violently I thought I might be sick right there at the table. I stared at the screen. They didn't just miss my dinner. They boarded a plane with my brother. On my wedding week. "Shanda," Jason whispered. "I'm so sorry." But his voice was just background noise now. 16 years ago, my dad told me, "Braden needs us more. You'll be fine on your own." Back then, it felt like guidance. Now, it felt like prophecy. The next morning, I canceled everything. Hair trial, makeup run-through, dress steaming. I stayed curled on the couch, knees tucked to my chest. Jason brought me tea, sat beside me, didn't push. I could feel the tightness building in my chest. Not grief. Grief was soft. This was something sharper. That night after he fell asleep, I scrolled Instagram again. My mother had posted a photo in front of the Eiffel Tower. She was holding a champagne glass in one hand, a red scarf around her neck. Her caption read, "Some girls marry for love, some marry for money. Guess which one we failed to raise properly?" Underneath, a dozen comments from cousins and distant relatives. "Can't believe what she's putting you through." "Braden deserves better siblings." "She never appreciated all you sacrificed." I stopped breathing for a second, not because of what they said, but because I knew they believed it. They really believed I was the problem. I set my phone down carefully, went to my desk, pulled out a yellow legal pad, and I started drafting a cease and desist letter. Jason found me typing hours later. "You okay?" "I'm done asking for peace," I said. "Now I'm protecting it." Just as I saved the document, my phone buzzed. Braden had tagged me in a story, a boomerang clip of him clinking glasses with my dad at a Paris cafe. The caption? "Family first." That was fine. They wanted lines drawn? I'd draw them, but not in chalk, in ink. The church glowed in soft golden light, its stained glass warming everything inside to a hush of reverence. Jason's hand rested on mine as we stood beneath the arch of white hydrangeas. For the first time in weeks, I felt still. Then, a sharp groan, heavy wood groaning against metal hinges. I turned. My parents walked in, not a word, not a smile. My mother's lipstick was too red, her heels too loud. My father's eyes scanned the pews like he was counting assets. Jason's grip on my hand tightened. They weren't here to witness. They were here to perform. My father didn't wait to be acknowledged. He stepped forward, projecting his voice like a courtroom prosecutor. "We paid for this wedding, every cent. If it's proceeding without our consent, then we want it canceled, or refunded, all $175,000 of it." A gasp. 2, 3. Then a rising tide of whispers rolled through the crowd. Jason's mother reached for her husband's arm. My bridesmaids froze, bouquets trembling slightly in their hands. I didn't move. Flashback, months ago. My father mailing me spreadsheets, reminding me of every invoice he'd covered. Just in case your marriage doesn't return the investment. And here it was, his return. Shanda, Jason said quietly, do you want me to ask them to leave? Before I could speak, another figure appeared behind them, a stranger in a navy blazer. He walked with the confidence of a man who'd never been told no. My name is Victor Harmon, legal representative for the McKenna estate. He held up a manila envelope. This is a cease and desist. According to Clause 9.3 of your financial agreement, the ceremony must be postponed pending review of misuse of family funds. The officiant's hand hovered in the air, caught mid-gesture. I don't know what to... Jason stepped forward. Is this a joke? The lawyer passed the letter to the officiant. My name was printed beneath a forged signature. Underneath, a falsified document outlining a loan agreement I'd never seen in my life. I felt something crack inside me. Not fear, not even shame. Something colder. A fracture I wouldn't be sealing again. I walked forward, heels echoing on marble. My father looked pleased, like a deal was being closed. I took the envelope, tore it straight down the middle, then dropped the pieces at his feet. You raised me like an investment, I said, my voice sharp, clean. But I'm not your asset, I'm not your product, and I'm not for sale. The crowd was silent. Jason walked to my side, took my hand. The officiant swallowed. Shall we continue? I turned back to the altar. Yes, but only with the people who came for love. Behind me, my father's voice boomed one last time. You'll regret this. I didn't even look back. I should have known the moment the officiant resumed the ceremony that silence wasn't safety. It was a setup. My vows were still trembling on my lips. The scent of lilies hung heavy in the air. I was trying, desperately, to hold this wedding together with dignity. Then I saw her, my mother, stepping forward. At first I thought she might speak, apologize, beg for forgiveness in front of everyone. Instead, she reached toward the floral side table by the aisle. Her hand gripped the cast-iron lamp, heavy, ornate, meant only for decoration, and with a scream that didn't sound human, she raised it and swung. The impact knocked me sideways. A searing bolt of pain shot through my shoulder, and I crashed to the floor, veil tangled, air knocked from my chest. Gasps, screams, Jason shouting my name, people scattered like birds. My bridesmaid Melanie rushed to dial 911. Someone pulled my mother back, one of Jason's uncles, I think, but even restrained, she fought like a feral animal. I gave you life, she shrieked. I have the right to end it. The entire room froze. Cameras kept rolling. I couldn't breathe. Not from pain, not from shock. From something worse. This wasn't the mother who used to braid my hair for picture day. This wasn't the woman who brought soup to my dorm when I had mono. This was someone else entirely. And she had just told a room full of people, many strangers, some blood, that she believed she had the right to erase me. I didn't cry. Not then. I just lay there staring up at the vaulted ceiling of a place meant for joy, wondering how we ever got here. Police arrived within minutes. They cuffed her. She didn't struggle anymore. Just glared at me as if I had attacked her. My father stood behind them, unmoved, hands in pockets. When the officer asked if I wanted to press charges, I answered without hesitation. All of them. Jason knelt beside me, whispering, "We can stop. We can go now." But I shook my head. I stood, shoulder screaming in protest, brushed glass from my dress, and faced the altar once more. I'm not her daughter anymore, I said quietly, to no one in particular, and that truth settled deeper than any vow. Later in the bridal suite, I sat in a chair with one arm in a sling, makeup smudged, body aching. Jason brought me water and kissed my forehead. "We can still leave together," he said softly. I nodded, but my eyes stayed on the empty doorway, the one my mother had walked through with a... The fluorescent lights in my lawyer's office buzzed just loud enough to match the ringing in my head. My arm was bandaged, my temple bruised. My wedding bouquet had dried up in a vase on the counter, forgotten. Do you want to press charges? She asked quietly, her pen ready. Jason reached over, holding my uninjured hand. I didn't need to think long. Yes, I said. All of them. I wasn't chasing revenge. I was preserving my future. The courtroom was clinical, beige walls and tight-lipped attorneys. My mother sat across from me in a slate suit, expression blank. When asked if she had anything to say, she looked straight ahead. Not at me, not once. Braden surprised everyone by showing up. He took the stand, told the truth. Said he hadn't known it would go that far, but the forged loan document wasn't Shanda's doing. His voice trembled. For once, he didn't look smug. Just small. The judge's ruling came with no ceremony. Restraining order granted, civil damages pending, and fines for the public defamation. Outside the courthouse, the air smelled like cement and burnt coffee. I took a breath. It wasn't justice that warmed me. It was the absence of fear. Weeks passed. No word from my father. No apology from my mother. The family group chat stayed silent, except for one aunt asking if I'd consider dropping charges for the sake of peace. I deleted the thread. 16 years ago. I had broken my arm at the roller rink. Mom blamed me for ruining the family trip. I still went to school the next day with a makeshift sling. She smiled when the nurse said I was brave. I started therapy. My therapist wore soft linen blazers and kept tissues in every corner. The first time I cried in her office, she said gently, "Not all parents are capable of love." I didn't respond. I just nodded. Jason and I married again, this time on the coast. 10 guests, no veil, no drama, just wind, sand, and silence. I walked barefoot down the beach and didn't once look back. No father waiting, no mother judging, just Jason, eyes soft, waiting with open arms. We honeymooned in Oregon. Mountains, trees, quiet. I skipped social media for a full week and didn't miss a thing. Now, months later, I sit at my new desk, in a sunlit corner of the house we picked together. My shoulder aches when it rains. My wedding dress is in a box under the bed, unopened since the day everything cracked. I write a letter to my mother. I don't know why. Maybe out of habit, maybe out of hope. But I don't send it. I place it in a drawer marked, "Not yet." Some scars aren't meant to fade. They're meant to warn. Jason calls me from the kitchen. Dinner's ready. I tuck the letter away and walk toward a life that's finally mine. I don't forgive her to absolve her. I do it to unchain myself, but I won't forget. Some bonds break to let the soul breathe. I loved her. I feared her. And now I forgive her. But I won't forget. What would you have done in my shoes? Fade out. Maybe your family never forged your signature. Maybe your mom never raised a lamp to your skull. But pain doesn't have to be dramatic to leave a scar. Sometimes it's the quiet betrayals, the guilt trips, the emotional withholding, the subtle preference for someone else that shape who we become. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this. You don't owe loyalty to people who weaponize love. You have the right to walk away, to protect your peace, and to choose yourself without guilt, especially when choosing yourself is the only way to finally heal. So now I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to cut ties with someone who was supposed to protect you? How did you find your peace afterward? If this story touched something inside you, drop a 1 in the comments or tell me where you're watching from. And if it didn't, tell me why. Every voice matters here. If this video made you think, made you feel, or made you pause, go ahead and subscribe. More real stories are coming. You're not alone. Let's keep the conversation going.